السلام عليكم. للتذكير, just a reminder, after the adhan and the khutbah start, if you touch your phone or you use your phone, I think that may interfere with the khushu' and may lose the reward for the Jum'ah, inshallah. So it's one of the brother wants us to remind everyone that using the phone or touching the floor like touching the hasa, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in his hadith. So once the adhan is made, please make sure that your phone is in the airplane mode and is in your pocket. Bismillah. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Inshallah, today's reminder is a continuation of a topic I started a few months ago, which was about seeking justice. What Muslims should do when they see injustice happening to other people, and how should we react when injustice is happening towards us. But to continue on this topic, I want people also to understand that we have three options when an injustice happens to any of us. The first one is you seek justice. Whatever harm that happened to you, you would want that harm to happen to the other person. But another option is actually to forgive. And that option is available not as a reflection of you being weak. In fact, this is an afu and al-maqdira. You're actually capable of reacting, of seeking justice, but you decide not to. You decide to actually forgive that person. And the third option, which is even higher than forgiveness, is ihsan. Imagine the person that actually harmed you. You're not just not taking justice against that person. You're not just forgiving that person. No, you're actually doing good for that person. This is the highest level, which is ihsan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَهُمْ الْبَغْيُ هُمْ يَنْتَصِرُونَ. When gross injustice befalls them, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the believers, they stand up for their rights. So there's no argument that you can seek justice to stand up for your rights. No one argues about this. But how? How do you seek justice? Because now there's a fine line between you seeking justice and you seeking revenge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in the next ayah. He says, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. If you want to seek justice, then the just requital for an injustice is an equivalent retribution. This is the ceiling. You cannot go higher. If there is an injustice that happened to you, you need to know what the injustice is, and whatever you seek cannot be higher than the harm that befalled on you. It has to be no more than that injustice, equal or lower than. But in real life, how do we do this? Let's say you're walking on the street and someone hit you. And you come and say, oh, the khutbah was about me seeking justice. How do you react to that injustice? Someone just hit you. In reality, you're reacting out of, yes, you want to seek justice, but you're also reacting out of you wanting to seek revenge. You got angry. At that moment, you're angry at that person who just hit you. How are you going to react? You're going to react even more. You're going to give that person more harm than what he's given you because you're angry. But in your mind, you're justifying it. That person started it. And you go beyond the harm that happened to you. That's why in Islam, according to the fiqh, you should always seek a third person for you to seek justice. And this is usually a qadi, a judge, who will come. You will relay what happened to you. That person will defend themselves, and then the judge will decide what the punishment is. If you yourself seek justice, you could. But in order for you to not be an aggressor while you're seeking justice, because now you're seeking out of revenge, then you should try and get a judge to do that for you. This is according to the fiqh. وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. You cannot go above the harm that happened to you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues the ayah, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Now, if those believers decide to pardon and reconcile with that person, then they are rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have the option now of just forgive that person. Forget about what just happened. And reconcile with them. Go shake hands. You know what? I don't hold any bad feelings towards you anymore. If you do that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises you a reward. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not even specify what the reward is. It's not limited. فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. You will get rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beyond what you can even imagine. Now it's a higher level than you seeking justice. And why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that sometimes we can transgress in our path of seeking justice. And He says at the end of the ayah, إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ, reminding us that He does not like the unjust. And He's not talking about the people who are committing the injustice to you. He's talking still to the believers, to the mu'minun. Reminding us that He does not like the transgressors. He does not like the unjust. So always be mindful when an injustice falls on you, that you have the options of seeking justice but do it correctly, or the option of forgiving that person. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in another ayah about this concept of you having to be really, really worried when you're seeking justice and not to exceed the limit. He says, وَكَتَبْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ فِيهَا أَنَّ النَّفْسَ بِالنَّفْسِ وَالْعَيْنَ بِالْعَيْنِ وَالْأَنْفَ بِالْأَنْفِ وَالْأُذُنَ بِالْأُذُنِ وَالسِّنَّ بِالسِّنِّ وَالْجُرُوحَ قِصَاص. That we decreed for them in that the life for the life, the eye for the eye, the nose for the nose, the eye for the eye, the tooth for the tooth, and an equivalent injury for any injury that befalls you. Always know what qisas is, never exceed it once, because once you do, you're now a transgressor. فَمَنْ تَصَدَّقَ بِهِ فَهُوَ كَفَّارَةٌ لَهُ. And if one now decides to forfeit what is due to him as a charity, it will atone for his sins. You have the absolute freedom to seek justice, but do it right. But if you decide not to, if you decide to forgive and forget, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises you that He will use this as a sadaqah to atone for your sins. And again, I want to remind us, I am not talking about we seek forgiveness out of weakness, because we're just helpless. There's nothing I can do. I guess I'm just going to forgive that person. No. We're talking about you could seek justice. You're able to seek justice, but you decide not to. And you decide to forgive that person instead. This is when you become in a higher position. I'm not talking about being apathetic because you just can't. I'm talking about you're able, but you decide not to. And if someone does decide to take justice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that we cannot and should not blame that person for seeking justice. وَلِمَنِ انْتَصَرَ بَعْدَ ظُلْمِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَا عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سَبِيلٍ. Certainly those who stand up for the rights when injustice befalls them are not committing any error. You cannot blame them. They have the absolute right to do it. This is not a khutbah about you not seeking justice. If you want to seek justice, you should, and you could. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not telling us that by you seeking justice, you're now not a Muslim anymore, or it's haram. No, seek it. Because Islam is a very practical religion. There's other religions like Christianity, for example. Well, they teach, probably not practice it, but they teach if someone slaps you on the face, give him your other cheek. This is the teaching. Probably they don't really practice it, but this is the teaching. But that's not what Islam teaches. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not telling us if someone comes and slaps you on your cheek, yeah, go ahead and give him your other cheek. No, you can seek justice. You have that option. And definitely you're not going to give them your other cheek. You could forgive them, but you're not going to forgive them by telling them, yeah, come and hit me again. Right? So Islam is a very practical religion. And if someone decides to seek justice, we are not to be blamed for it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues the ayah, إِنَّمَا السَّبِيلُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يَظْلِمُونَ النَّاسِ. If you want to actually blame someone, you blame the people who are unjust to others. وَيَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. You said the people who are transgressing the rights of other people, they're the ones to blame. Do not blame the ones who are actually seeking their own justice. أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. These people, these unjust people, will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment. And the next ayah is a very powerful ayah. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding us over and over again, you can seek justice. Go ahead and seek it. No one can blame you for seeking justice. But then He reminds us again in the next ayah, وَلِمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لمن عزم الأمور. That if you resort to patience, you actually restrain yourself, and forgiveness, this reflects a true strength of character. إن ذلك لمن عزم الأمور. What makes this ayah so powerful, the people who know Surah Luqman, you will know that there is a very similar ayah in this surah. When Luqman, this wise man advising his son, and one of his advices, if you've ever afflicted in your life, if you're harmed in this life, you need to be patient. And Luqman tells his son, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. The two verses are very similar, but there's one letter that makes the first ayah more powerful. In the first ayah, that talks about you forgiving people instead of seeking justice, and you being patient, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَا مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Well, when Luqman advising his son, he's telling him, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. There is no lamb. Why? Why is this lamb? Why is this lamb of like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizing your strength of character in the first ayah and not in the second ayah? Two things. One, in the first ayah, it talks about not just you being patient, but it talks about forgiveness. You're not just being patient in the face of calamity, you're forgiving someone that caused that calamity to you. And this is really hard. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recognizes this. And that makes your strength of character even more than if you're just being patient in the face of calamity. And the second reason is there are two types of calamities. If you get sick, this is a calamity that you got from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What options do you have? If you're sick, what options do you have? Yes, you get treatment, but it's terminal. What are you gonna do? You can be depressed and miserable, or you can have patience. So if anything, it makes more sense to be patient. It's good for you to be patient. But the other calamity, when someone actually harms you, someone causes injustice on you, now we're not just talking about you having patience, we're talking about you forgiving that person. It's a lot harder because you know you can take action. You know you can take revenge against that person. You know you can react to that injustice. And this is a lot more difficult than just being patient. And in recognition of that distinction, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. This is truly a sign of your strength of character. So injustice befalls you, you have the option of seeking justice. You have the option of forgiving. And the ultimate option that you have is ihsan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةَ. The good response and the bad response, or the good deed and the bad deed, are not the same. ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. You shall resort to the nicest possible response. This is so that one who used to be your enemy, they become your best friend. Imagine someone actually causes you harm, and your reaction is not justice. Your reaction is not just to forgive. Your reaction is to react in the nicest possible manner for the hope that that person who was your enemy will one day become your friend. In practical terms, imagine you're driving and someone flips you over. Someone cuts you up, cuts you while you're driving, and yells at you, uses profanity against you. You can react. Or imagine if your reaction is you smile back at them and wave. Imagine that reaction. ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. Now you respond in the best possible manner. And I want you to psychologically think about the reaction of that person who is so angry, who is yelling profanity at you. And you reacting this way by you waving and being nice, he himself will react differently. You're like, okay, maybe now I'm at the wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. They might even pull over and try to apologize to you. Maybe. We're not saying for sure. But maybe that will happen. This is the option that we have with ihsan. Someone causes injustice against you and react in the best possible manner. I have seen a few years ago, there was a protest against outside one of the masajid. Can't remember the exact state. But they were standing up, that was during the elections back in 2016. And one of these people was holding signs about how they don't want Muslims in this country, get out of this country. And that was after Jum'ah. And the people, Musallin of that masjid, went outside. Instead of fighting with them, they actually invited them to the masjid. And one of them took the invitation and was like, you know what, I'll come. Yeah, whatever. I don't like you, but I'll come. See what are you guys doing inside. And they treated him in the best possible manner. And wallahi, a few days later, he became Muslim. You can react to these people. You can seek justice. Or you can forgive them. Or you can react in the best possible manner. And the harder it is, the more rewards you get, and the more benefit that you will get in this world as well. They could have gone outside and fought with them, but they didn't. They could have just walked out, forgive them, and just like, you know what, I'm here to pray, I don't want to deal with this, drove their cars and left. You could have done that too, and they would still have been fine. But they decided to go and engage in the best possible manner. And a good outcome came out of it. This is ihsan. And it's difficult. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the ayah afterwards how difficult that is because shaitan is going to play in your head. وَإِمَّا يَنْزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. When the devil whispers in your ears, seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will hear your prayers. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم توبوا إلى الله. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Again, reminder today is about what Muslims should do in reacting to injustice that befalls on them. You have the absolute option to seek justice, and there's nothing wrong with it, as long as you do it in the right way. Do not ever seek revenge. Do not do it while you're angry. Do not go beyond the harm that happened to you. Even better, seek a third party, a judge, to actually do that for you. This is the first option. The second option is that you forgive that person. But you forgive not because out of weakness, not because you can't seek justice. You're like, oh, you know, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to forgive that person. No. It's despite the fact that you are able to seek justice yourself. Despite the fact that you're able to react, you decide to forgive that person. And the ultimate option, the third one, is that you have ihsan to that person. You react in the best possible manner to that person that caused you injustice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rewards for each of those is higher, the higher you go with the option. An example, a practical example from the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the example of Abu Bakr and his reaction at the time of Hadithat al-Ifk, when our mother, al-Mu'minun, Aisha radiallahu anha, his daughter, the wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people were spreading lies about her. Awful lies. Things that should not be said about any woman, let alone the wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To the point where Aisha was staying with her father, and she was depressed for months until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah in Surah An-Nur to free her from that calamity that befall her. To tell the people and the Prophet that all of these are lies. And everyone who is spreading it knows that these are lies. But one of those people that was spreading the lies about Aisha radiallahu anha, his name was Musattah ibn Uthatha. He was actually one of the cousins of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And he was poor. He was one of the poor cousins of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And Abu Bakr used to give him charity, a weekly allowance. And imagine, this is a person that should be grateful for all of the charity that you've given him, and he returns that by spreading lies about your daughter. How would you react? And Abu Bakr's reaction was, you know what? I'm not going to do anything against this guy. I'm not going to go and punish him. I'm just going to stop giving him the allowance. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed an ayah also in Surah An-Nur to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, reminding him and all of us how we should react in this situation. He says, وَلَا يَأْتَلِي أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسِّعَةِ أَن يُؤْتُوا أُولُو الْقُرْبَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Those among you who are blessed with resources and wealth should not lose momentum in being charitable towards the relatives, the poor, and those who emigrated for the sake of Allah. Do not lose the momentum. Atala means masha mutafaqilan. You walk very slowly, like you're walking fast, and then now you're dragging it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, you're already doing really well, giving charity. Do not react to something bad that happens to you by slowing down that momentum. Keep doing the good that you were doing. Do not stop. وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in the ayah. Not just that you do not stop the momentum, and continue giving the charity that you were doing, but forgive. And forget about all of this, as if it never happened. And the word afa, as many of you know, is different than maghfirah. Al-af in Arabic is al-ardu allati laysa biha athar. When you walk on the ground and your footsteps leaves marks behind, this is normal. But if a land does not have any footsteps on it, this is called al-af. So ya'fu, meaning not just forgive. No, forget about it as if it never happened. It's not there. There is no athar. There is no footsteps on the ground. Completely forget about it. وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. صَفْحَ عَنِ الشَّيْءِ أَعْرَضَ عَنْهُ. Completely disregard it. So act as if it never happened and just disregard it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Would you not want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you? He is the most forgiver, the most merciful. As if He's reminding us in this ayah something that you and I know very well. In order for us to enter paradise, we're not just seeking justice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're seeking His forgiveness. If it's just about justice, if it's just about seeking justice, wallahi, none of us deserves to go to paradise. We are reliant on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy in order to enter His paradise. We are relying on His forgiveness to enter paradise. So He's reminding us. An injustice happens to you, do not make this as a reason for you to lose the momentum of doing good. Continue doing good. If anything, forget and forgive about it. واصفح عنها. Completely disregard it as if it never happened, and continue doing good in this world, because this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us on the day of judgment. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we seek His forgiveness, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from the people who seek to forgive one another. Oh Allah, you are the granter in pardoning. Oh Allah, you love to pardon. Grant us your pardon. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul af fa'fu anna. Allahumma atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ridaka wal jannah wa na'udhu bika min sakhatika wan nar. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa rahmatullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استقيموا يرحمكم الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.